What does a highly trained and experienced, grumpy old retired grunt take into the woods as a field repair kit? Let's do it. Welcome to Grunt Proof, guys. I'm Randall. This is my field repair kit. Now, I don't think it's anything crazy special. I do, however, think it's going to be something that you guys might find interesting. Now, I'm not the biggest, baddest expert in the field, but I will tell you that all my military and private experience being out in the woods, I think this is a very solid kit, and I've never needed anything for repairs and other issues you might run into besides this. So, first off, as you can see on the outside, I've got a whole bunch of rubber bands. And if you have seen my most recent loadout video, probably linked up here, I mentioned the rubber bands and why I always have a ton of them on me. You will also notice that I have some heavy duty duct tape on the outside with a ready to pull tab. Now, Gorilla Tape works. I find that if you Google or just research heavy duty duct tape, you'll find something similar to Gorilla Tape. Now, the Gorilla Tape is popular because it's very sticky, unlike your 90-mile-an-hour tape that is not sticky. So you can actually use that on all kinds of things that you don't want a bunch of residue stuck on. Whereas your Gorilla Tape or heavy-duty duct tape will actually stick to almost any surface and hold on it, but you're going to have some residue left. That can be used as an extra fire starter. You can roll this stuff up and burn it. I use it for blister care, which I also have it on my medical kit. And then I also have just little amounts like this all over my rucksack. Now then I have just a tiny bit of cordage. This is like very thin but strong nylon cordage. And this came with something, I couldn't tell you what, but I found that I didn't always want to dig out 550 cord or dig out the innards of 550 cord just to make really quick repairs. And if you're limited in the woods, you don't want to be screwing around with your possible ridge line or your actual shelter cordage to be making repairs. This is about a 25-foot length of this, and I just tied it on there, wrapped it around. Now I've got some cordage I can just easily pull off, measure, cut it, do whatever I need to do with it. Now the container, it's like these dissolvable electrolytes you could throw in a glass of water to drink. So I just grabbed it out of my kitchen. It was empty, and there you go. It's also waterproof and floats. That's good to have. And as you can see, everything just sits right on in there. Here we go. You guys like it long, right? That's what she said. All right, so the first things you pull out, large safety pins. These actually come with the OD Green Army cravat or handkerchief. This used to be our old field first aid kit. It still can be. And these would come with this to be used as a splint, make other repairs. Now, safety pins are great for many reasons. I don't think I need to talk about all of them. They're really good to hold clothes together if you don't have time to stop and sew anything. You could even repair your shelter with them. You could make hooks out of them, like put bait on them. There's a lot of things you can do with these, so they're very handy, and they're light, and the larger size gives you a lot more functionality. This is the rest of my loadout laid out because we did just do a loadout video. All right, now I got some mini zip ties. Again, zip ties are excellent for quick repairs. If you got a rip in your shelter or anything else that can hold any bit of tension, you can put these in there and that is a quick repair. There's many other things you can do with those. I find them handy in all kinds of cases. You can even tear a strap on your ruck or something similar, some kind of load carrying device, and you use these, put those on there, and then you can even cut off the excess to save for later, and you've got something holding stuff. Now, we've got one button. Don't stress out, guys. I have never had to replace a button in the field, okay? Even while active duty, Army infantry, if I ripped a button off, I would wait till I got back to garrison to fix it. However, it is so small and light, you don't notice it, so I decided to keep one around anyway. You never know. All right, now for what most of you guys probably wanted to see. So we've got some extra safety pins. Now, here is the sailing needle that basically you must have. Again, I've always carried a needle everywhere I've gone, but I've never actually had to use a needle in the field. Not once. Any other quick repair, shelter, what have you, I've been able to handle with these items. And even my duct tape, okay? But it is handy to have a needle out there just in case. One example, when I was in my MTT sniper school in Germany, my ghillie suit did start to tear apart. There was not a sew shop around me, so I had to rely on my Army field kit to repair it. Well, we had a needle, a smaller needle, we had the buttons and a whole bunch of thread and everything, and I was able to repair my ghillie suit. Now, people are going to say, well, where's the string you're using? Well, there you go. This fits in this giant needle. This is strong as hell, so that's my sewing kit. You can also use the innards of 550 cord. These are just like your old chip clips, you know, for chip bags and stuff. I have these spread out throughout my kit, so that tells me that this one is a backup one. All right, so some of you guys are probably wondering, what are these handy for? Well, plenty of purposes out in the field, but the main reason I like to carry these is if I want to clip something quickly onto my ridge line for my hammock. That's one way, but also this. So you guys all know these survival blankets, right? They're handy to have around. You don't notice them in your ruck until you actually need it and go looking for it. But this is something really good to have, not just for survival emergencies, but if you're out camping and it just happens to drop in temperature more than you thought it was going to. Besides the people who just hike a mile in away from their car, you know, to set up camp, to do whatever, most of us who are walking really far, we generally like to have the lightest loadout possible. So that means you might actually get stuck out there in lower temperatures without a fire where you have to figure something out. And the best thing I have learned to do, if you have any kind of shelter setup that's low hanging, so like an Army poncho A-frame or like a body bag tarp shelter, you can basically take this and use 4 of these clips, clip it up on top of your shelter, and make sure your shelter is low enough, and then you actually get the reflective properties of this. But because it's an actual shelter, you have enough room in there for air to still circulate. So you're going to trap some of the hot air, but this is not laying right on your skin or right on your body to where you're just going to start to sweat and then freeze anyway. Plus, taking into account that these are not tough at all. So I've tried to sleep with these before, and they either fly away in the wind or they get ripped up in my sleeping bag, or I just roll out of them and can never find them again in the middle of the night. It's like trying to sleep in a potato chip bag. It's just, yeah, it's not fun. So again, the best way I think to use this is use these little clips, clip it to your shelter, bring your shelter down on you. You're going to reflect some heat. And then you also don't have to depend on silly blankets like the Arcturus and things that are going to get destroyed if you use them as a shelter. And it's just a backup system. Okay, I lost my needle, but you guys saw the needle was packed into here. These are just little sew-in Velcro strips. So just another extra repair item. You can get these from sew shops. This is the 5-pound version, so it can actually hold a pretty good amount of weight. You can basically stick it to any kind of tarp material, and so you can make minor tarp repairs with it. Now, I do have mini scissors in my first aid kit, which we will get to in a separate video. So you could take your scissors, cut this up a bit. You got 4 corners, and you could combine it with this, and that's another way to do an emergency reflective shelter. But, you know, something like this is good to have around. There's a lot of other uses. So, that's pretty much it, guys. This was just a quick overview of the kit and a couple reasons I carry certain things. So, if you guys found something that I'm missing that you think is crucial, then let me know down below, because I'm always willing to learn. Now, like I said, this has gotten me by for over 20 years now between military settings and private camping, you know, and going out on your own in the woods, you kind of have to be a little more prepared. So the best ideas I've had for this came from that used, being out on my own, not in an Army unit where I could just go ask somebody for something else. Be sure to check out the video coming out soon of the medical kit that I've also built over 20 years. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So until that video, you guys stay safe, get outside, get strong, get fit, go see the world, And more importantly, prepared lives matter. Out.